Welcome to the CPTM Smart Partners Hub. On 27th of June, is Tuesday, 2017. And welcome to all the Smart Partners in Smart Partnership Movement, all the CPTM webs, networks, to the observance of the memorial and remembrance of His Excellency Seketumile Masire. The CPTM library where we are in, Smart Partners Library, has a fellow desk, the CPTM Fellows Desk, and probably the most well-known CPTM fellow and fellow emeritus after he left the government was and will always be His Excellency Seketumile Masire. So we will be, as we said in our letter to His Excellency President Kama and to the family, observing a moment of silence on Thursday at 9:00 a.m. GMT, and we called on all the Smart Partners all over the Commonwealth and beyond, and CPTM members to do the same at the same time and share with us not only the messages which I'm sharing today, those received up to now from all over the Commonwealth, but also the glimpses and highlights of how you observed that moment on Thursday, 29th of June. On Thursday, as we all know, we will be having central bank governors and Smart Partners for their sixth think tanking on adaptive flexibility for financial inclusion in the digital age. And in the last month or so, we've been doing a lot of preparations for it. It became a very complex issue, and on the other hand, extremely pragmatic in its nature, particularly for the central banks. And because of that, we have more attention given to what is called Emerging Digital Landscape, which is one of the initiatives which support not only financial inclusion but also national statistics, national visions, National Bureau of Standards, science technology advice. And as we know, in the last so many years, since Global 2013, Moses, whom we call him Moses supercomputer, but he will say exactly what he does. But for all of us in the movement, he is a Moses, a supercomputer, because Dar es Salaam had a supercomputer, which His Excellency President Kikwete, the host of the dialogue and CPTM fellow too, wanted very much to know what applications that supercomputer has. So once again, it's a very great honor and with very great regret to say that we have this webcast, which is specifically dedicated to His Excellency Seketumile Masire. We have the webcast as a part of the preparations of the think tanking on Thursday, in front of the desk which will bring all of us for the one moment of silence on Thursday. As you know, those who do know, His Excellency Seketumile Masire always liked apples, so we put some apples and fruits. But he always asked our hub team, did you buy me a new scientist? I want the latest new scientist, or Nature. And I want a little booklet to write. So as we go along towards Thursday, we all the time remember various things that His Excellency Seketumile Masire was saying, would have said, would have done. So that being said, I would have briefed Seketumile Masire, probably, about the outcome of the preparations, which is the program including all the context related to the Thursday and Friday discussions. So Moses, who arrived a number of days ago at the hub, was part and parcel of these preparations. So together, jointly, we will be going through the key areas of the agenda, and particularly what is likely to come after the think tanking of the governors on Thursday. So, Moses, as we know, we had, besides yourself, as both an expert, smart partner, and monitoring together with myself and a few in the group, right. We had a great difficulty to pin down a framework, a landscape of various things that are happening at the same time. And it wasn't a question of papers or emails or individuals that are so well into this field in UK in particularly, but it's a question of how to connect before they are disconnected. So because of that, I mentioned to you that the agenda, if you look at the agenda, I could only make it as relevant to what has happened in financial inclusion up to now in the national frameworks, so the reflecting of it, of what has happened. Then a number of things that are taking place now, not that they took place since last year up to now, that they took place in the last month or so. Yeah. We tried to bring them in with the governors under the umbrella of what is called accelerating. And what do you do about accelerating? And then, of course, there are numerous, as it happens, innovations of applications, both in standards related to fintech and the whole landscape of digital developments lately, right. But also in relation to security. And this year, if possible, we would want to have, for the first time, to have an attempt to approach the national security, which is in itself becoming an initiative on its own.
Yes, because
in a very strategic manner. So we may be able to deal with that, and why with the central bank governors and financial inclusion? Because those are type of processes and institutions which are going to be part and parcel of securing the state alongside others.
Absolutely.
Okay. So that is what is the Thursday. But now and you'll go a bit more in detail on each of the three dimensions. Yes. But the smart partners who are going to join us specifically here to make interventions are going to be some of those start-ups and very well-known representatives from the digital industry, like Chainvein, Surrey Centre for the Digital Economy. We have new ones like dunnhumby, which is a data analytics specialized in retail and trade. We have very senior individuals from Object Tech Group that is specialized in RegTech, and you're going to describe quickly why that is relevant under financial technology. RegTech. We have British Standard Institute. We have AXI, which is a data strategist that is involved in ISO blockchain committees, etc. We have ITU, International Telecommunication Union,
Yeah.
talking about beyond the digital financial services focus group that they've just finalized. And of course, we are going to have Professor David Hand from Data Science Institute that is guiding us into the focus on data and data technologies.
Right.
And he talked to the governors last year. And we will have, for the first time, quite well-known representative of artificial intelligence, but specifically related to financial sector, financial industry from Canada.
Right.
For the security, or let's say cybersecurity, the CyberSec Institute in Malaysia, part of MOSTI, Malaysian Office of Science Technology, they have their Chief Technology Officer representative here. And I'm very glad and I'm very grateful to the CyberSec that they continue to be part of our framework in the last 7 years or so.
Right.
And of course, we hope to have one of the most senior international global specialists in securing security and securing the state, who will be introducing for the first time the issue of national security in smart partnership movement. We've been dealing with that a little bit, but not in the context that we're going to deal with it now. Of course, there are smart partners, directors, and others who are going to be here. Alongside, hopefully, central bank governors who happen to be probably already in Oxford, having finished their BIS meeting, Bank of International Settlements, and some high commissioners. Finally, it is very fit, and we didn't know that last week. It's very fit that one of the most well-known smart partner in the movement in Southern Africa, Honorable Marco Hausiku, former Deputy Prime Minister of Namibia, civilian companion, is going to join us both and lead us into the observing the remembrance of His Excellency Ketubile Masire, but also he's going to try to remind everybody in FinTech and the governance that without smart partnership and its practice and the movement, nothing of this happen. And that's what it is. So this is what is in all this document pulled together, is a context within which the governors are reviewing latest developments in digital landscape, including the various taking forward recommendations that they made to themselves last year, or they are deriving from the Commonwealth Ministers for Trade, Commonwealth Finance Ministers, etc. So this is what is in this document. Now, if you can focus, I would very much appreciate on the 3 dimensions. Then, okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mihaela. In this year of 6th Central Bank Governor think tanking, we have done some innovation on the way agenda is arranged into 4 dimensions that they governing the framework of the document. And we have reflecting, and there are discussions about it, accelerating, and innovation and anchoring. All those overall dimensions, they are governing the discussion that we have. As Mihaela have explained, that we have a number of experts who are very good into the area that they'll be presenting in here. and we have a good mixture of central bank governors and different type of experts. So we are sure that the discussions in this think tanking is going to be very, very successful. I would like to touch on the issue of leveraging value of data, trading, financing, and data, adaptability, disruption, and opportunities, and leveraging value of data and minimizing risk in governance, but in the context of the financial industry. Mihaela, as you remember, all these days that I've been here in the preparation of the agenda, we have a deep discussion so that will guide on the discussion on Thursday on how the whole think tanking is going to take place. And we have these experts like David Hand, Oliver Oram, Mike Brookbank, and Emin Melcherik, and Paul Paris. So we believe that these discussions
Christopher Petitan
and
Emily Bratt.
They're going to be there are quite a number of them, and the discussion is going to be very good. In this industry, since last central governor think tanking, there are a lot of things that have been innovated, and specifically what we are going to include in the landscape of fintech is we're going to discuss about fintech itself, the development that have been happening there, and also the reg tech. As you can remember, Mihaela, in last meeting of central bank governors, there was the discussion was good, but there was some hesitations of the fintech that they were providing solutions which were not touching the part of the compliance, how to assess risk and things like that. So reg tech is an area that I believe is going to cover the whole framework of the financial industries, that we are going to hear innovation which are done.
Okay, reg tech is because of regulatory
and the regulatory, which is
and technology applied to the regulatory framework.
Yes. And where the governors, the most of the time, more interested on how they can make sure that the financial industry is secure, all the systems are working fine. So the innovation of reg tech is going to bring very good discussions on Thursday, and we believe that
will attract the
governors. And as you said, the issue of the security right now is very important, not only in financial industry, but it's important in all those industries. So the issue of securing the state, and as we know that the financial industry is one of the pillars of any state, it's going to be of a very important in the discussion. I don't like to prompt the details of what is going to be discussed, but I think at this particular moment it's relevant.
Very relevant that we may be able to have that.
We
launched,
have absolutely.
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 Okay, I think you didn't mention as much probably about the fact that while the issues of digital landscape, which preoccupies you particularly, going hand in hand with standards and with the risks and with brought in by regulatory framework, the main focus of application will be data, is the application of data, including data technologies, but the value of data.
Absolutely.
To, we call it central banks, trade, finance, and value of data.
Absolutely.
So Oliver Oram from Chainvine hinted about 2 weeks ago a particular framework through which we may try to bring in the issue of trade, which obviously is an indirect way to bring to the attention the various data applications, value of data, including the tools or the technologies which go with it.
Absolutely.
So the idea was, what Oliver was saying, that one needs to listen first. What are the pains from governors? What pains do the governors have in implementing their own functions of central banks? And then you bring in the aspects of the various technologies which are available.
Yes, you've said a very good point actually in that. In this discussion, since we are bringing the governor, who are the most people
Very
who
senior.
are senior, we are aiming for in that discussion, but we have experts in different areas, and it's true that in the world that we are living now, data is the most important thing, and when we analyze how data is important in the financial industry, there are a number of things which are coming out of that. One is the applications which can work with data and make sure that governors will be getting, first of all, data which is secure, data that they can trust, and then how also they can work with dashboards to make sure that they can control the economy.
So this is about the decision making, which Professor David Hand is making quite a very, very good point since for governors, and he will make it again now.
Right.
The idea is that a better decision could be made if data is trusted, if the data is possible to come in quicker, in a particular way, visualization if possible, and analysis if possible, real time is possible. So then of course the decision is being made as you go along with data as it evolves.
Absolutely.
So that is what it's about. But going back, so one aspect is about decision making, governance and decision making. But going back to the trade and the finance, that will be probably of a very great interest to the movement as a whole, because it involves not just the governors or the ministers of trade or the businesses involved, the private sector in the trade. It involves everybody in the supply chain, including the political and the decision makers and the civil servants and the people outside the government.
Absolutely.
So for me, that will be probably one of the main focus that the governors may not want to literally give time from the financial inclusion as such, but we will need to go in more detail, if possible, on Friday, and so on and so on in the next few weeks.
Absolutely.
Okay.
You have mentioned a very good point that when we deal with data, basically we need to look at the whole value chain, and also we have to be able to connect the dots that will make meaning to central bank governors. And you have said a very good thing. When we look at the value chain, there are a number of players which are there. Like we've been discussing all along, that nowadays we have data aggregators in the financial industry. And those are the ones that they ensure that the data which is provided into system that they monitor trade first are relevant, they are real time like the way you have said, and they can make meaning when they are analyzed in the dashboards, and they are trusted. So I believe that the discussion on Thursday is going to touch on all those points.
This is but it has to be this will be the major problem we would have.
Absolutely.
Because there are you cannot talk about one thing without not touching on the others.
Absolutely.
So anyway, the focus will be the financial inclusion and the decision approaches based on adaptive flexibility with adaptive markets and all the rest of developments.
Absolutely.
But one needs to be in a practical way, in a real world, looking at how can one relate data with a trade. And of course, if you look just a little bit, if you look at the fact that what are you trading? You're trading a commodity, for instance, or you're trading oil is a commodity and so on. You can trade data, but you can trade a commodity. And one is looking at the provenance of that commodity.
Absolutely.
And that means there is somewhere available data, or it can be stored data.
Absolutely.
And it can be blockchain or distributed ledgers
Yeah.
could be used in that context.
Mm.
Then, of course, if you have the provenance of that data, you can even check to see if there isn't an anomaly in the data that has been identified.
Yes, that's
For the coffee, for instance, it may
Absolutely.
be or may not be the type of coffee that he says Kenyan coffee.
Mhm.
It may be somebody else want to imitate that coffee.
Exactly.
So that is, there is an ability to identify in the system an anomaly. So that is again that will be brought in on Thursday.
Yeah, you have mentioned a very good point on the industry which is coming out now of provenance has many applications, and it's truly that in this meeting on Thursday, there are a lot of things that are going to be discussed there. For example, what mechanisms which are used to make sure that the products which are sold in a certain market are truly authentic and things like that. So we expect the issue of like artificial intelligence to be touched over there. Blockchain technology,
So the
like the way
meeting
you've
is not
said.
about artificial intelligence.
It's not
the
about
meeting
artificial
is about
intelligence, but
actually the
trade.
trade, for instance,
Trade, yeah.
but where
we
the
understand-
governors are involved.
Yes, we understand that the issue of the trade nowadays, it involves the aspects of technology.
Yes.
So there will be a special
Data
touch,
technology.
yeah,
Yes.
touch of that. But we believe that there's going to be a very healthy discussion on Saturday in these matters.
And the issue of RegTech probably will come in, again going back to the trade real thing that is taking place.
Absolutely.
It's about insurance and governance.
Because if you can remember, like the way I said in the last meeting, we were talking about how these technologies, they can facilitate payments, and that the part of the customer. But the good thing of RegTech is it has completed the rope.
That's
So
it.
now all the actors in the financial industries, they have tools which they can enable them to participate
They have what they
efficiently.
could have.
Yes. So to me, I believe that RegTech is going to be very interested to govern. That's what I believe.
Yeah, I suppose it takes them outside of the bank in itself,
Right.
in addition to how the bank processes, the central bank processes are taking place.
Right.
And they are more and more efficient and more
Exactly.
trustworthy and so on.
Exactly.
So, but the whole discussion about trade and finance
Right.
is also brings in also obviously data and statistics,
Absolutely.
brings in data and standards.
Yep.
And overall, if you look at all the national visions processes that we had, including the 2016 in Botswana,
Right.
the idea of making a nation a trading nation, of course it's based on the trading and financing ability and capacity.
Absolutely.
And nowadays, that is based on being able to analyze data, to use data, data technologies,
Absolutely.
and of course to create more jobs, but different type of jobs.
Yes.
And this is probably connected very much to national vision.
It is.
Yeah.
It is connected to national vision. Like the point that you've talking about, the issue of set standards, it's very important for having standard in the whole value chain of data. Like the way we have discussed before is we normally have data, then it helps to do some decisions.
Yeah.
So all the tools which enable one to make decisions, starting from the data, is very good if they are standardized. So that, as you know, that once something is standardized, it's easy for it to be interoperable with other systems. And then in the aggregate, it's going to support the vision of a country.
It also brings in the ability to analyze risk if you have the data
Absolutely.
for the insurance.
The insurance
So
industry.
if you want to probably set up prices even before you reached beyond the customs, if you
Yes.
you can start doing that even
Absolutely.
before you reached in a particular country,
Absolutely.
because data is
available.
available.
It's available.
So you have more trading time, more facilitation for the
Exactly.
trading and negotiations.
Absolutely.
So anyway, but that has to be connected to the financial inclusion, and that is probably.
Yes.
And we will be discussing Friday after the financial inclusion about the overall strategy of the CPTM Smart Partnership Movement in relation to finance ministers,
Yep.
in relation to Commonwealth Summit, but in particular in relation to the Smart Partnership International think tanking dialogue that His Excellency President Museveni, our chair of Smart Partnership Movement, initiated for end of October, beginning of November this year, most likely in Uganda. So, Moses, thank you very much, and I can see you are quite probably taken by the fact that you join me at this very particular special moment
Yes.
before Thursday, when we are going to maintain 1 minute,
Silence.
1 moment silence
Yeah.
all over the movement and from here together with the governors.
I can understand.
So thank you very much for being ahead of us, because otherwise we would have been on our own
Thank you
at
very
this
much.
very special time.
It is.
So thank you very much.
Thank you
So,
very much,
and
Mehal.
look forward to have your feedback and more messages, as well as any issues that you would like central bank governors and their colleagues that will join them to take on board on Thursday. All the best.